There was an earring under the pillow. Not Natasha's, someone else's. Small, cheap, with a tiny heart that looked like it belonged in the trash. The tiny heart reflected the lamp on our bedroom ceiling. The reflection trembled because my hands were trembling. I didn't even cover the find with my palm right away, as if I was afraid that the earring would jump up and run away, betraying me for seeing it. "Oh, I found it," Natasha said from the doorway so casually, as if she were talking about a container lid. I thought I'd lost it? "It's not yours," I said. And I didn't understand what was scarier, that I had said it out loud, or that it was true. She raised an eyebrow, as if surprised, but not seriously. Then she smiled. Thoughts raced through my head like bullets in a revolver cylinder. Who? When? Where? With the child? With me? It wasn't the first sign, and, as I now understand, it wasn't accidental carelessness. It was a game. Her game, with rules that only she knew. A game in which every answer I found turned into another question. My name is Alexei. I live in the suburbs of Seattle, in a house with light siding and a maple tree by the driveway. I used to think that Natasha and I built this house together. Me with my hands and stubbornness, her with her ideas and taste. We moved to the United States 10 years ago, like many of our people, for opportunities. And in the early years, everything really seemed possible. Work in IT, her design courses, our daughter Sasha's kindergarten near the park, Lake Washington, and hot chocolate in paper cups on the weekends. Christmas with garlands on the porch, Halloween with pumpkins, Thanksgiving with turkey, which I overcooked twice before I learned how to cook it. We learned everything, the language, the local customs, and that strange American "how are you" on autopilot. I first noticed the clue 2 years ago. Natasha had just returned from a bachelorette party. That's what they call them here. Smelling of someone else's perfume, not a woman's. It was a man's perfume, thick and spicy, as if someone had generously sprayed it on a scarf and left it in our hallway. I wrinkled my nose, hugged her, and jokingly asked, "What cologne is that? Is it new?" "Yes," she said. "We tried it at the store. Sasha liked it." "Right, Sasha?" Sasha nodded automatically, already falling asleep in the car. And I didn't dig any deeper. Thoughts of trust are stronger than flashbacks of jealousy when you're tired and need to put your child to bed. And then I found the receipt, not from the store, but from the bar. The receipt was for 2 whiskeys and 2 glasses of Prosecco. Sasha didn't fit into this puzzle at all. "The girls and I," Natasha said. "There was a cheerful bartender there who poured us special drinks." "What are you, Lisha, a schoolboy? Scared of receipts?" I snorted then, and swallowed it. After all, a bar is not a sin. I myself go to the pipe anchor with the guys, where we discuss the Seahawks and the latest updates in the cloud. And I would have swallowed it further, probably, if it weren't for the earring under the pillow. Then there was someone's sports bottle in the trunk, not ours. Then there was a man's baseball cap on the hanger. Oh, probably the plumber left it. Then there were the playful messages on her phone, which she didn't hide, but seemed to leave demonstratively face up on the table. Yesterday was hot. Next time, your place or mine. From whom? The name was shortened to initials. I looked at her. She looked at me and didn't look away. I know how this story sounds to an outside observer. Why didn't you leave earlier, Alexei? Or make a scene? Or check their phones, buy bugs, install cameras? It's not that I'm a saint. The thing is, love isn't binary. It's not 0 or 1. It's not on or off. You doubt. You make excuses. You find explanations. You twist things around. You go through stages. Denial, bargaining, anger, acceptance. And you don't live in a movie, but in a house where a child draws with crayons, where the kitchen loan hasn't been paid off yet, where things are mixed up like in a big laundry bag. And another thing, Natasha had a talent. She wasn't just cheating. She was building a maze. She left breadcrumbs, as if she wanted me to follow them, but not leave, so that I would doubt just enough to stay, so that I would be jealous just enough to stay close. And at the center of this maze was not love or sex. It was power. Her power over my head. Our friends, I thought they were ours, were part of this setup. Tom, the neighbor across the street, an American with a smile like in a dental commercial. We sometimes fixed things together in the garage. He brought beer, said he envied Russian thriftiness. Jaka, ours from New Jersey, moved to Redmond, works in testing. Igor is a trainer at the gym, not exactly a friend, but we often ran into each other at barbecues hosted by mutual acquaintances. And Mark is my best friend here. Quiet, attentive. He was the first to notice that I'd become more silent. "You'll either burn out or burn up," he said once. "I have to decide something." "Do you think I don't see it?" I asked. But every time I sit down to talk, she looks at me like I'm crazy. And every time it's something new. Either Sasha is sick, or she has a deadline, or I made it up and got it all wrong. "Write it down," Mark suggested. "I don't mean bugging her. Write it down for yourself. Dates, little things. So you don't say, 'I think,' but say, 'Here's the list.'" I started keeping a notebook. It sounds ridiculous. A man in his 40s, an IT specialist who knows how to compile server log journals, starts a paper notebook with his suspicions. But paper turned out to be more reliable than memory. On paper, there was an earring on such and such a day, a receipt, number such and such, a message, screenshot attached, Natasha's comment, "Labs, says I see things that aren't there." In the margins, my emotions, like spontaneous notes. Rage, stupidity, shame, fear, tired. Sometimes there were funny details. Remember to buy bags for leaves. Tom's wing sauce is good. And there, in the margins, I wrote for the first time. She wants me to find it. She's happy. I noticed what had previously escaped me. Not only the clues, but her reaction to how I found them. In her eyes, no fear, no irritation. A spark. Like a person who has played a successful game. Like a child hiding a rubber band behind their back, while the teacher searches for who threw a piece of eraser at the ceiling. I decided to have a conversation after all. More precisely, a series of conversations. The scenario repeated itself like a bad TV series. I would say, "Natasha, look, this. At first she would laugh. "God, Lesha, it's like in the movies." Then she would say softly, "You need to rest." Then she would say harshly, "You're controlling me." And finally, she would cry, "I can't do this. I'm suffocating." Once she said almost in a whisper, "Why don't you fight for me?" "Who?" I asked. "Who should I fight, Natasha?" She paused and looked somewhere over my shoulder, as if the answer was there. Then she went to take a shower. Showers and pipes have one thing in common. If they hum for too long, sooner or later, something will burst. I burst at Sasha's school concert. They sang, "What a wonderful world." Children who don't yet know how to be truly sad, but already know how to look at their parents, checking to see if we are there, if we are where we should be, if everything is okay. Natasha was sitting 2 rows away from me. She said she was late, took whatever seat was available, and Mark sat down next to her, and another one, Igor. I clenched my fist so hard that my nails dug into my palms. During the song about the wonderful world, I suddenly realized I'm standing knee-deep in mud and pretending it's a river. In the parking lot after the concert, I approached Mark. I spoke calmly, as if at an engineer's stand-up meeting. "Tell me the truth. If you're my friend, tell me the truth." He didn't look away. That was probably the worst part. "Nothing happened," he said. "I saw her flirting. With someone. With many people. But not with me. I wanted to believe him. I clung to that no, like a handrail on the subway when the car jerks. And then I found a forgotten blanket in the trunk of Natasha's car. The blanket smelled of something foreign, the same cologne that Sasha liked. And on the blanket, hair, gray hair, short. Tom? Igor? Mark? Or someone else I don't see. And then I finally noticed what distinguished her clues from ordinary carelessness. They were too theatrical. An earring under my pillows, a baseball cap on our coat rack, the check neatly folded in the pocket of her jeans, left on the back of a chair, just like in a movie. Natasha wasn't hiding anything. She was planting clues. I wrote in my notebook in large letters, "The goal is not to hide, but to leave a trail." And below, why? The next day, I made an appointment with a therapist. The good thing about American life is that here it's not shameful to say out loud, "I need help." I chose a Russian-speaking therapist, Marina, a woman in her 50s with warm hoop earrings. I now pay attention to earrings, you see. And with a manner of not saving, but illuminating. I brought her my notebook like a student, a notebook with crooked handwriting. I told her everything, about the earring, about the chats, about the guys, about fighting for me, about how I was tired of being a prosecutor, a lawyer, and an investigator all rolled into one. "It's a game," Marina said after a moment, "in which you have been assigned the role of a hunter of elusive truth. But the game is not about truth. It's a game about controlling emotions, about always being one step behind. She throws out crumbs, you follow. Fatigue prevents you from stopping. Jealousy prevents you from leaving. And hope that someday these crumbs will lead you home keeps you in the maze. But it's not home. It's a circle. Why is she doing this? She has her own answer. Sometimes, to confirm her feeling of attractiveness. Sometimes, to project her chaos onto you, so that you become as scared as she is. Sometimes, so that you finally raise the stakes and start fighting, like in the movies. Sometimes, out of revenge for the fact that at some point you weren't the one who saved her. Sometimes, it's all of the above. But the question why is secondary. What's important is what you will do differently. Leave? I asked. Breaking the maze means getting out of it. Or stop running in it, said Marina. Stop looking for evidence and start identifying the consequences. Not, look what I found, but here are my boundaries and here are my decisions. After the session, I went outside, where the usual Seattle drizzle was falling, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't look down to see if there was another crumb. I looked ahead. It didn't make it any easier, but it made me stronger. I gathered Natasha in the kitchen in the evening. Sasha was sleeping over at a friend's house, so we could be adults. I made 2 cups of tea. She likes mint, I like black. I put my notebook on the table next to the cups, not as an accusation, but as a fact. I'm not going to argue, I began. I'm not going to prove to you what I saw or didn't see. I'm not saying you're a bad person, but I'm tired of living inside someone else's script, which teases me like a red rag to a bull. I don't want to catch hints and guess whether I should be jealous. I want to either trust you or part ways honestly. She was silent. She looked at the tea as if there were instructions there. Do you want a divorce? She asked. I want honesty, I said. Couples go to therapy, or couples break up. I don't want to live in the gaps you leave me anymore. She smiled, not even an angry smile, a tired one. You never really loved me, Lesha. If you did, you would have fought for it. You would have fought. You would have screamed. You would have watched over me. You would have pursued me. You would have fought for me like it was the last ticket on a plane. I'm not a ticket, Natasha, I said. And you're not an airport. We're people. I'm not going to fight for love. I'm willing to go to therapy. I'm willing to work. But I'm not willing to play Guess the Melody, where you put on records and I have to run around. What if I say there was nothing? She leaned forward. I'm not asking that, I replied. That's not the point. I'm talking about how I feel. I don't want to feel this way. And I don't want Sasha to grow up in an atmosphere of constant speculation. Sasha doesn't see it, Natasha cut in. Sasha is happy. Children can sense things, I said. They see how we sit silently at the table. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said so quietly that I could barely hear her, I don't know how to stop. At first, I took this phrase as a confession, but then as a challenge. That's how it is. The same sentence can be a door or a wall. We decided to try couples therapy. For 2 months, we sat across from a woman with soft hands and a tulle shawl on her shoulders, and Natasha talked about how she always felt unseen. I need to be wanted unconditionally, she said once. I asked, what does unconditionally mean? She replied, without questions, without why, without what for. So that I know that if I leave, you will come. If I slip, you will catch me. If I disappear, you will find me. But you left traces, the therapist remarked. Why? Natasha looked away, and for the first time, smiled not at the camera, but as if to herself. So, that they would look for me. I felt a chill, as if a window had been opened in winter. So, that they would look for me. There was no place for me as a person in that phrase. There was only room for the seeker. A role, not a person. A role in which I am valuable only because I am running. What if he stops looking? Asked the therapist. Then he doesn't love me, Natasha shrugged. Or he loves you differently, I interjected. Calmly, reliably, like an adult, without running around. That's not love, Natasha said. We left that session in silence. The rain intensified. I offered her an umbrella, but she refused. I regretted that we weren't in Paris, and it wasn't summer. In movies, scenes like this take place in a warm rain, but ours was cold. But we weren't in a movie. I was often asked by those to whom I later told the story, did it happen? Did it really happen? And I still don't say that word as if it were a verdict. Because in this story, what matters is not, did she have it physically, but did we have it morally? But since you are an audience that cares about facts, yes, it happened. Not with one or two. And with those I considered friends too. I didn't find out from her, but from one of the friends who couldn't take it anymore. Although friend is now a word with a bitter taste. Tom turned out to be the weak link. He called when his wife found the correspondence. We were idiots, he said. I didn't argue. He told me how it all started. Your Natasha is such that everyone around her feels like a winner. She left them clues, just like she did me. Only for them, these were green light signs, and for me, they were orange. Slow down, but don't stop. He spoke, and my head was spinning. Marina was right. It's a game where everyone runs after the hands that deal the cards. That doesn't excuse Tom, Mark, or the others. But it explains why they took the bait so easily. They were also promised a role, the heroic role of the one who is chosen. They didn't think about me. They thought about themselves, just like Natasha for that matter. I didn't make a scene. I didn't go around punching people in the face. Although I fantasized about it, I'm not going to pretend to be a saint. But I remembered Sasha. And I remembered the feeling when you finally stop running and start walking. I hired a lawyer, an honest, calm man who spoke without pathos and didn't promise to take her down in court. He said, you want to live, that means you need to divide your life. We made a plan, the house, The cars, the bank account, custody. I didn't want to take Sasha away. I wanted her to have a mother, without games. I wanted her to have me, without the maze. At first, Natasha played the same old tune. If you love me, fight for me. But I didn't play along. I said, we'll sign this. She tried to drop new crumbs, leaving someone's messages on the computer, forgetting to delete drafts. I suddenly realized that she didn't want to save or destroy me. She wanted to feel important, and for the first time, I honestly said out loud, I can't give you that in the way you're asking. We agreed on a mediator at the session, where we had to answer simple questions. Where will the child be on Tuesday? Who pays for insurance? How much time does each of us get? Natasha suddenly started crying for real, not dramatically. And she said, I didn't think you could leave. Again, I wasn't in that sentence. There was her confidence in the script. I broke the script. And that was the only revenge I had. Goodbyes rarely happen in one day. It's always many small ones and one big one. The small goodbye for me was the morning when I packed a box with my stuff from the basement. Old Cyhawks posters, a box of wires, just in case, a notebook, of course. Natasha stood at the door. She didn't stop me. She didn't hug me. She didn't say, stay. We already had a different language. The big one was the evening when we explained it to Sasha. Her world became too adult for a second. She cried quietly, like a child. She asked if it was her fault. I promised her that no, 1,000 times. No, I didn't mention the earring or the checks. I said, Mom and I are different, and we're going to live in different houses. But you're the only one we have, and you'll live in 2 hearts at once. It sounds like a poster in an office, but at that moment it was honest, because that's how I really felt. I rented an apartment on the other side of Kirkland, not too far to drive to see Sasha, and far enough that I didn't have to walk down the old street every evening. Minimal furniture, a bed, a table, a chair, a couple of pots, a computer. I never thought emptiness could be so loud. But with each passing week, sounds began to fill that emptiness. The kettle whistling with steam. Sasha's laughter in the evenings when she was with me. The noise from the window. Here, you can hear the yachts on the lake more often. I started running along the embankment. Ridiculous, at 43. At first, it was to run away from my thoughts. Then, it was to run after myself. Natasha. I don't know how to say this delicately so as not to sound vindictive. She continued to live as she had been living, only without me. Those who wanted roles in her plays stayed with her. I was dropped from the cast. I got calls from those I still considered my friends. Some of them apologized. Some remained silent. Mark said, "You did the right thing." I asked, "Right for whom?" He fell silent. I didn't hang out on forums about retribution. I didn't look for stories about how to punish. I read books about boundaries and family scenarios. I continued seeing Marina for a couple more months, until I felt like I could hear myself without an echo. And then one day, it was Labor Day, and we were roasting corn on a small grill on the balcony. Sasha asked, "Dad, do you love Mom again now?" "I do," I said. "As the mother of my daughter, it's not the same as it was. But it's still love, it's safe, and it doesn't require me to fight." "Okay," said Sasha, "because fighting is stupid." Children sometimes say things that adults pay therapists for. If you've read this far, you're probably waiting for a moral. I'm not a preacher. I'm a man who once found an earring under his pillow, and a man who once stopped looking for earrings. But if there is a moral to this story, it lies in a few simple things that I would have liked to hear from someone back then, at the very beginning. First, jealousy is not proof of love. It is proof of pain. If your partner gives you reasons to be jealous, they are giving you pain. And if they insist that this is what love should look like, they are selling you a fake under the guise of the real thing. Second, trust is not blindness. It is a choice. And when your choice is turned into blindness time and time again, it is not your fault. It is someone else's game. Third, hints are not a request to save me. They are strings that are pulled to test how much you can take. If you want to save someone, save yourself first. Then decide if you want to and can save the relationship. Fourth, friends. Friends are those who don't take on a role if that role requires stepping on you. If a friend easily agrees to play the hero in someone else's movie, where you are an extra, they are not a friend. And that doesn't mean there are no friends in the world. It means you've cleared them from your window display. Fifth, children don't need perfect parents. They need adults who get up in the morning and don't play games in front of them. They can sense when you stop being yourself so that someone else can feel chosen. A year has passed. The same flower boxes are still on my balcony. Sasha insisted on planting petunias, even though they almost died under my care. I laughed. It turns out that plants don't need constant anxiety either. They need light, water, and peace. Sometimes, a little fertilizer. People are not much different. Natasha. We communicate on business, sometimes on a human level. I don't want to turn her into a villain, no matter how convenient it might be. She is a person who has been running away from herself for many years, just like me. Only I seem to have stopped. I don't know. That's no longer my responsibility. There's a new mug in my house, a gift from a woman with whom we are cautiously laughing at the same things for now. She knows my story. I know hers. We were both afraid that we would bring old ghosts into our new rooms. But somehow, it turns out that ghosts don't feel comfortable here. There is little dramatic lighting here. There are many simple things. How did you sleep? Will you meet Sasha? Coffee or tea? And there is no earring under the pillow. There is, however, her small hair clip, which she really does forget. And that's not a hint. It's just life. Sometimes, when I'm driving along Route 405 and the rain turns the road into a dreary gray ribbon, I remember the moment when I held the earring in my palm. And I don't know why. But at moments like that, I wish for myself and everyone reading this one thing. May your palms hold something that doesn't need to be proven. May there be no games where you have to run around to be considered loving. May there be homes where strangers are not given green lights and loved ones are not given orange lights. Let us all one day stop confusing attention with love and anxiety with proof of feeling. I am not a hero or a martyr. I am a person who had illusions and lost them. And it's so strange. Living without them turned out to be easier. A world without a maze is also full of twists and turns. But they are visible on the map, and they have names. Work, daughter, friends, weekends at the lake, grilled corn, a book before bed, a conversation without hidden meanings. This is not a movie, but I don't want to be in a movie anymore. And if, reading all this, you recognize your own story in mine, here is the only advice I have the right to give. Don't look for clues. Look at yourself. How do you feel every day? Does it make you feel alive or drain you of energy? If it's the latter, it's not love. Not the kind of love that children, adults, and those who are still learning to say, "I love you," without looking back at the crumbs someone threw on the carpet should grow up with. A year and a half after the divorce, I met Mark, by chance, in a cafe on Broadway, where they serve overly sour espresso and biscotti that no one orders. He came up to me and said, "You were right." "About what?" I asked. "That love is not a race." I didn't understand that then. I thought that if I didn't run, everything would disappear. but it disappeared precisely because we were running. I looked at him, and for the first time in a long time, didn't feel a lump in my throat when I heard his name. People grow up to, or at least they learn. "Take care of yourself," I said, and I meant it. Tom moved away for work. Igor got married, for real. Natasha, I heard she took up photography. She takes beautiful portraits. And maybe she really needed that gaze, not as proof, but as art. I want to believe that for her. For myself, I have other beliefs. I believe in quiet kitchens and the absence of hints. I believe in notebooks where the margins are filled not with rage, but with a list of movies for the weekend. I believe in a child who says out loud that fighting is stupid, and in a woman who leaves a book on my shelf, not a script. If you want a moral victory ending, where karma has sorted everything out, mine is more prosaic. My victory is the morning when I wake up and don't look for clues, and the evening when I put Sasha to bed and don't think about who left the crumbs. It's a boring, happy ending, but it's mine. And the earring. I threw it away then, not to hide the evidence, but to free my palm. Because if your palm is occupied, it can't hold anything real. And I want to hold something real in my palm, even if it's just a warm paper cup of coffee while I wait for Sasha after practice. Or someone's hand that isn't hiding, but is simply there. Without clues, without games, without evidence. And that's the whole story. Or, to be honest, the middle of it. Because my life goes on, and now there is very little theater in it. But there is a lot of truth. And even if that truth doesn't always shine like a found earring under the light of a lamp, it is warm, and I no longer want to trade it for shining pain.